The SAICABiz Impact Podcast is proudly brought to you by SAICA, committed to growing impactful businesses in collaboration with our SAICA accredited practitioners. Don't forget to subscribe to our podcast and visit our website for more valuable resources.
62.4%. That's South Africa's youth unemployment rate. And it actually gets me excited. How funny. Because today we can give you the tools to empower yourself as the youth. So I'm so excited to be joined with some incredible people to talk about how you as a young South African can take that statistic and turn it around. Start your own business, start your own thing, and empower yourself. So we are here with the SAICABiz Impact Podcast. Our esteemed host.
Yeah.
Crossing over with our lovely blue table at SAICA. My name is Alunga Madala, the youngest Madala you'll probably ever meet. Funny joke in the space. And let's just quickly introduce ourselves. So we'll start off with our esteemed host, our usual host, but obviously the roles are flipped today.
Yeah. Thank you, Alunga. Thank you for having me. It's always good to be on the other side of the table.
Hey,
all right.
For once.
Yeah. My name is Luncedo Mtwentwe. I am the managing director of Vantage Advisory. I'm also a columnist for Sunday Times. And also, this is my home. I'm the host. I'm the host of the SAICABiz Impact Podcast. Thank you for having me, Alunga. I truly appreciate this. I'm looking forward to the discussions that we'll have with everyone.
It's like my honor. I'm looking forward to the questions that are going to fly in that discussion. Noma, who are you?
Okay, so my name is Nomathamsanqa Mfundisi, which is known, or most people know me as Noma or Noms. Ngesixhosa, it means mother of luck, mother of fortune. Oh, yeah. I am currently a senior accountant at one of the big four firms. Apart from that, I have a platform called Authentically Real. That platform aims to speak on career development, self-development, as well as my faith and Christian talk. But I think I'd say the main purpose is for me to impart knowledge to young professionals, university students. How I look at it is it's a guide of, it's a how to adult guide, how things that I wish I knew at that particular age, whether that be high school, whether that be university, I'm trying to impart that to people in the exact same space or in that exact same age range. So yeah, that's me in a nutshell.
Incredible.
Yeah.
Mo.
Hey, so I'm Mohammed from my CA Hub. I'm a CASA. I love saying that.
This is his merch, by the way.
So we create software and streetwear for chartered accountants and other finance professionals. And I'm so excited to be here today. It's my mission to make my CA Hub the coolest place for CAs to be. And I'm super thrilled to be chatting with all of you today. I think we have a great chat ahead.
It's going to be so incredible. So as I said, I'm Alunga. Yep. I am a CTA student at the University of Pretoria. And I started a podcast last year called The Road to CA. So I'm the host of that podcast. And obviously I'm an aspiring CA on the road. Let's just dive into also why you guys have started your entrepreneurial hustles, the things that really make this worthwhile, the why. What was the inspiration? Let's start with Noma as to why you started your channel and your following and your value that you create.
Yeah. I think, okay, so for me, like I had previously said, I was at a stage where I was in high school, university, and I feel like I was sort of boxed as in this is the information that was put forward and it wasn't enough, and I think I only started to learn that there were different avenues or different ways of doing things as soon as I stepped into certain territories. So then I was like, okay, let me create a platform where high school students are able to have, that information right there. They can see, okay, what it looks like to be a chartered accountant trainee, what it looks like to be in this particular accounting space or, be part of SAICA. So I was like, okay, let me create that certain platform. Apart from that, I think there were certain things that I just did not know, like how to finance a car, how to buy a car, things like credit score. How can you improve your credit score? I didn't know that as a young adult, started fresh out of university. I was like, oh, guys, what is this?
Yeah.
Why is no one informing us about this? So I said, you know what, let me create a platform where people can learn. Young adults, like I said, university students can learn about these things so that when they get into the working space, they're not just off the bat thrown into it and confused and not knowing what to do. So yeah, that was my main reason for starting Authentically Real as a channel, as a platform.
That was very authentically.
Thank you. Thank you.
Yeah. And you, by the way, Mo? Yeah.
So for myself personally, I've mentioned it before, my journey into entrepreneurship came in articles. I enjoyed audit articles. There were pros and cons. The one or two things that I didn't enjoy was having not much control over my own time and the independence, having to make decision via committee, to run things past people. And through my journey, I realized my values. I always recommend trying to take a values-based approach to decisions. My values were freedom and independence.
Yeah.
And that was the main reason, that I decided to pursue entrepreneurship. I didn't know exactly what it was going to be, but I knew I wanted to try my own thing. It wasn't for the money.
Yeah.
I think there's a big misconception that seeing people in the later stages, of successful entrepreneurship, the ones who have made it through, that it's about the money, but the money comes later. That was just my own experience. And so for me, freedom and independence, that was it in a nutshell.
Fantastic.
Yourself?
Fantastic. Yeah. So my journey is quite a long one. So I've always known from a very young age that entrepreneurship is my thing, right? So it's not a matter of, it was just a coincidence for me just to start a business. So I've had businesses way back in varsity. I always had the side hustles. I remember when I was still doing my articles as well, I had my side hustles.
Yeah.
I would arrive at work around 9 o'clock, 9:30, and everyone is seated, but they're not looking at me. Why are you arriving so late? Because I had other things that I was doing on the side. And then it did get to a point where I realized to say, look, I've been in the space, I've been in the industry, got to a point, I'm like, okay, I'm no longer learning anything new. It's sort of like now you're repeating whatever that you've been told or you've been trained within your articles. And the time was right for me just to branch into entrepreneurship. Even though I was branching into entrepreneurship, I didn't start my business with a plan that was already moving. So I said to myself, you know what? I'm done. Right? I'm done. There were reasons. I said, I'm done. And then I said, look, I'm fine even if I can downgrade, right? From this lifestyle that I've had, go back and start from scratch. I was fine with that, right?
Sure.
Because I knew at the end of the day what sets my soul on fire. Right?
Values based.
Exactly. Right.
Yes.
And therefore that journey, taught me something. Because you're actually in your career, it's moving, it's growing, right? And then you decide to say, you know what? I'm going to leave this flight and join another flight, entrepreneurship flight. And of course, you always anticipate that you're going to make money as soon as possible. But the reality of it all, you realize, no, you're not going to make money now. You have to build. You have to put in the tires together. You have to put in the engine. You have to put all of this for this thing to be able to fly. So it takes time. So therefore, I'm still on the runway. We have not yet flight. We're not yet in the air. I'm still on the runway building. Yeah.
But you're on the right plane.
I'm on the right plane.
Yes.
Every day.
And it started with starting with that why. There was something in you that was always there, that was not working for someone else or pursuing that corporate ladder, climbing that corporate ladder. And that was not money. It wasn't a money-based decision. I mean, you could have stayed. But let me also share my thing.
I was just going to say about you. You're still in CTA and you started this last year.
Yeah.
You haven't even started articles. So what's up with you?
Yeah. So the story behind it. So I'm matriculated with 7 distinctions. I was head of house, head of the public speaking club, head of the gavel club.
Yeah.
First team squash, academic colors, cultural honors. And in 2023, I failed my 3rd year in accounting. Right? And everyone knows this humbling experience
Yep.
of accounting humbling you, or
Yep.
this thing humbling you. But the story is always different as to the journey towards that. Still, when I look at my journey and so many journeys of other people who have been through the same thing, is it because we're not smart? Is it because we don't work hard?
Definitely not.
Is it because of nothing like Is it because of all those reasons why that we usually attribute to our failure?
Will you tell me?
It's not. I believe that it's because I did not know why.
Your why.
I was doing the course. I didn't really have a reason. My father said, you'll make lots of money and like, hey, like these usual things that we get into the thing for. But then towards the tail end of 2023, a little bit late in the year, I realized when I started to open my mind and really consider this chartered accountancy thing that, wow, you see CEOs and listed CFOs and this leader there, that board member there, CASA. And you start to realize the impact of this thing, the real power of it. And so I realized as I had the conviction now with a reason, as I repeated my third year, now I'm in the CTA program. So I'm still on the road and I will get to the end of it. But I realized if I had known in first year what I know now, I probably would have had a reason. And I probably wouldn't have failed. And so I started the podcast, The Road to CA, where I interview travelers on and beyond the road to CA in order for us to open our minds, to see what this thing really means and to see that there's no one way. There's so many different stories. I've just chatted with such amazing people and from so many different walks of life. But I always say it will not end, but it will begin in CASA. Against the usual mantra, like it'll end in CASA, because I think it's the short-sightedness that gets us to feel like our failures are the reason why we are not valuable. But it's the opposite.
Absolutely.
It's the exact opposite.
What have you learned? What has been the constant theme that you pick up from your guests around what has made them to be successful?
Wow. Oftentimes, it's something that is baked into the 7 years or 8 years. There's the standard route. We take the scenic route.
Yeah.
It's grit.
Okay. Okay.
It's grit.
All right.
Because in this journey, you cannot get through without a reason to power through.
Okay.
CTA. I mean,
It's not an easy.
CTA right now. Like I was just in accounting this morning, and now I'm here.
Don't envy you.
But I think it's just that thing of having something to look forward to in the form of, I believe, in the best CA's impact. I think something value-driven, value-focused. When you have maybe a dream of becoming a leader, that's the type of goal that sticks you grounded and rooted. But if you're here for money, that's actually part of why I failed. Was actually I dropped out for 2 months because I was like, hey, money. We can go start businesses. This thing, short term. But at the end of the day, there's an impact that you can create with this thing, and that is definitely the number one common theme. On what you said about having to go from this corporate comfortable position, having to downgrade. And also even with you, Mohammed, having to, even without a plan, just start over. I wanted to ask you guys about the start, because I feel like a lot of the friction is just feeling like I'm not ready. What you went through is yours is a different level, because now there's these golden handcuffs that are getting shinier and shinier every year. So every year it only gets harder to become an entrepreneur. But what was your journey, firstly, to overcoming that fear and doing the start? And what would you say to someone out there who's struggling? We'll start with you, Luncedo.
Look, what I've picked up, most of us as young entrepreneurs, we usually anticipate to see their results within a year or two, right? And most people, they usually drop out on the third year or fourth year. Because the journey is not easy.
Sure.
It comes with its own challenges. So what I've learned has always been about, one, you need to have a skill, or you need to have that mindset of patience. That be patient enough, the dots will connect. Eventually will connect if you continue to do this every day. Because what happens most of the time, people will start something. 1 year down the line, you get sidetracked. There's another interesting idea, opportunity, and then you attract that. And then 6 months down the line, you're going back, you realize, okay, my day one is not moving as it's supposed to move. So therefore, let me go back. However, no, you just need to focus. I always say a business is like a baby. It takes 5 years for a baby to be, to be fully to be able to stand and able for them to even articulate themselves. That's similar to the business. You need to be in it for minimum 5 years. You need to be in it for like 10 years to see what you're doing. So for most people, if they can come in at an entrepreneurship level with that patience. So even if the journey now becomes difficult, at least you're patient enough, you know that I am in the right track. This will work out. And it will. Eventually. That's what I picked up from my side and the number of entrepreneurs that I work with on day-to-day basis, because we assist number of SMEs. I can tell you from day one the entrepreneur that will make it or not, because I've seen those characters, the trend. Yes, I can already tell that, okay, this entrepreneur is not gonna, he's here just for short term. Then you can see an entrepreneur that is in it, that, okay, I can bet on that jockey.
Sure.
Right?
Patience.
I wanted to ask, did you not have any fear behind leaving something stable and going into something of your own? Was there no fear? And if you did, how did you overcome that?
No, there's no fear at all. There's no fear at all.
Yeah.
Because obviously, when I was born with nothing, I'm not born from wealth.
Okay.
Right? I'm not born from wealth. So I've got nothing to lose anyway. Right? The car that I just bought 3-4 years ago, it's new. Right? I'm used to operate at a minimum level.
Okay.
So at that level, I'm not yet, like from my side, I was lucky enough that I didn't have like a wife and all of this kind of thing. So the responsibilities on the risk, therefore, wasn't me. So that's how I was willing, you know what, even if I have 1 meal a day, I'm fine with that. I've had that in varsity before. So all of these nice things, I just knew in my life, right? So therefore, to downgrade, it was easy. It was not, I didn't care about that. Like, okay, no, that's it. But the test becomes, of course, when now the leads that you anticipated to kick in and to start to bring business, instead of 2 months, they take now 6 months. They take 8 months to close a transaction. So that's where the test becomes. We're like, okay, I'm in the right track. I'm in the right track. You know what I mean? But eventually, you end up, the game teaches you that eventually it will happen.
And it's so many new skills you need to learn. Sales and marketing. That's the main one for entrepreneurship. And just what I wanted to touch on that aligns with what you said is my opinion that I speak to a lot of CAs who want to move into entrepreneurship at many stages in their journey. And for me, it's not necessarily about the idea. It's not necessarily, I say it's about the attitude. And it's about being able to have a problem-solving attitude, to be able to deal with uncertainty and risk on a day-to-day basis, a sense of insecurity rather than that stable, salary that you can rely on each day. Each day presents new problems, presents new opportunities, and it's up to you. So I've always said, it's down to an attitude. It's based on the attitude, whether entrepreneurship, not everyone. It's not meant for everyone. Let's not romanticize it. Let's not romanticize it. It's easy.
Although actually, I'd argue some of that, right? So to even draw back to your point, Noma, of that fear that some of us have. That there's this thing that we've been procrastinating. That podcast we wanted to start for 5 years. I think a lot of the pressure also comes from starting by yourself.
I hear that. Yeah.
So if you want to become an entrepreneur, I've heard this, and I've also had a little bit of experience. Maybe try and work in someone else's business first. That's one thing that I think should happen, especially if you want to become the greatest entrepreneur you can. Work in someone else's business, get a feel for the industry, get a feel for even the working world. I mean, if you don't even know how taxes work on a very basic level, like literally just to submit your e-filing, I don't think you should start a business, actually. I actually don't think you should. But that's not to say you never should start something. And I think another big thing is we have this like idea that we have to drop out. Sometimes you can also do the risk-averse way. Start something on the side. You don't have to drop it all. Like, still study, get your degree, especially in South Africa. You actually want a degree, literally just for someone to hear what you're saying. If you don't have a degree.
That's such a great point because, I mean, you're doing something on the side, right? In articles. And for those who are interested in pursuing something, but the weight of articles, you know, there's a lot that goes on.
It's a lot.
So how are you doing it? What's your secret?
Sure. To be honest with you, I think it's important to me. So, you know, when you find, I'm going to go back to this word value. When you find value in something and when you find something as important, you'll make time for it. So I think for me, it's just a matter of, okay, how can I schedule my time? I know, okay, I have to work overtime this weekend. How about next weekend? Let's squeeze it in at this sharp, cool. Let's do 8 a.m. up until 12, you know? So I think it's about being very meticulous and very, how can I say this? Very, just sticking to the plan. So if I say I'm going to do it on Saturday from 8 to 12, do it from 8 to 12.
Discipline.
Even back on the value thing, I think, and it dovetails so perfectly with your point on that 5 years. I think, especially as young people, and I heard this interesting idea by this guy, Alex Omozi. He's an online.
Oh, I love him.
He's incredible. He's incredible.
He's a straight shooter, right?
He's just value packed. And every word is just so dense that he says. But he mentions this idea of patience. And basically, he believes that no one is actually that patient. It's that, especially as a young person, it's not that you're more patient than a 50-year-old. It's just that 10% of your life is like 2 years. 10% of their life is 5. So that's actually the context that we're operating from. And so it's so important. And this is his advice. See patience as just figuring out what to do in the meantime. Now, on that, how do you have the patience? I think it's about learning that it's value first. The problem is, with a lot of young people, and myself included when I dropped out for those 2 months, and I was starting businesses and they all failed, is that we don't understand that people pay for value.
Absolutely.
People do not pay for anything else other than value. So actually, if we solve the equation, it starts at value first. It starts at building that system. It starts at building the baby. You got to build the baby. You got to give it the 5 years. You've got to go and sell. I mean, let's actually talk about the startup journey. Mohammed, what was that first grueling 3 years like?
It's been a roller coaster ride. Grueling is the right word. It's actually really funny you say that because I met up with one of my CA Hub users. And you know
Is it Roger?
No, it wasn't Roger. It was another guy. But I knew him from Deloitte as well. And you know, the perception, the thing is, this is just my opinion too, but when you're running a business, you don't want to show like things falling apart and like, you know, no one wants to back the loser, you know? So the perception you want to always provide, and you know, the people care, you learn people care about, perception and impressions, first impressions, and like, it's important on a human level. So, you always want to show professionalism and your utmost excellence while behind the scenes, you know. That's why I said it's an attitude, you know, that it takes to be willing to deal with that. But you know what? Like you say, the first 5 years, we just turned 4. Marcia just turned 4 this past April. And it took time. It took time, to also figure out what my users want, what the target market wants, not when forcing what I think they want, but you know, and the skills you learn, sales is the most important thing. Anyone who wants to become an entrepreneur, has to learn how to sell. The founder, it's a key because you're selling yourself, your idea, your product all the time. It's a great skill to learn. So it's been, but I wouldn't give it up, and I wouldn't give it up for anything. And that's because I think when I think back on it, I get to live out those values every day.
Sure.
Those freedom of independence. Like I didn't have to ask anyone, can I come to the blue table? This is just me. Can I come to the blue table talk? Or can I print this merch? I can just do it. And that's what I want. That speaks to my soul. So I'm happy to do that, even though the money was hectic.
Yeah.
It was tough. It was a ride, bro. But the other thing is almost every other amazing entrepreneur I've spoken to, like the guys from Sift Analytics,
Sure.
Abed from Damani, they all struggled.
All CAs.
And they all struggled in those first few years. To hear their war stories, it just gave me a lot of inspiration to, it's all right. It's not about that.
You know what? Also talking about that, I think it's important that young people are aware or are comfortable enough that it's okay to fail.
Sure.
Right? In South Africa, there is a tendency where if you have failed, right, it's this thing that no one wants to touch you.
Sure.
The funders as well. If your business is not doing well, the funders don't want to touch you, right? Now, when you look at a global context, first world countries, the investors themselves, they will radiate to someone that has failed before, that has that experience, because they know that you're carrying so much experiences from your failure, and whatever that you're about to work on or going forward, or even if it's still the same business, then that, okay, you've learned your lessons, all right? So going forward, whatever that is about to come is solid. So we have to really encourage that failure, that if you've failed, as you're saying, that we don't want to show that hard side, we show the good side of things. However, the reality is not like that. That is only... The good side is like 10%. 10%.
You love it.
90% of the time, as Mohammed is saying, you are working on dealing first with people, your employees. You have to put in the processes, the systems. You're dealing with the funders,
the product, the actual.
You're building the
value.
product. Do you understand? You're dealing with so many complaints that are having non-stop. Emotionally, you have to be very fair. So when people have failed on their businesses, but that's what I'm working on, is that I would love to start a fund that I'm looking for those ones that have failed.
I like that.
Exactly.
I like
Those are the ones that, that I know that they're going to be serious. They've been bent. Whatever that is coming is going to be solid enough, So I think for young people, it's okay. It's okay. If you failed, it's okay. Move on, start something else. It's not the end of the world.
I like that.
It's not the end.
I want to turn to something that a lot of young people, especially in the age of social media, are crazed about and have a lot of, exposure to, and that's content creation and personal branding. So now we live in the age of the individual. There was this book by Daniel Priestley, great entrepreneur, educator from Australia, called Key Person of Influence. And basically what he poses in the book is that there's this one person in any business that is going to be your key person of influence. In today's world, and the reason why I wrote the book is because you see a trend away from brands, away from logos, away from these huge, apart from SAICA, of course, apart from SAICA, to individuals. You literally see individuals taking whole countries. AKA Donald Trump. Personal brands bigger than the actual companies. Right? You've got Richard Branson, way bigger personal brand than Virgin. You've got Elon Musk, way bigger personal brand than all of his companies. Boring Company, Neuralink, everything together. You've got Elon Musk being the front of that. Let's go into content creation. Our person who's been in the trenches, learning on our behalf. Noma, what would you say are the keys to building your brand?
Wow. I would definitely say keys to building your brand is, I'm going to go back to this word once again, value.
Value.
What are you offering to the people? When people look at you, right? People must look at you and then say, okay, this person, she's going to offer me advice on how to adult content. That's the value proposition that she's bringing. So I think aligning with what your value proposition is and continuously standing up or continuously showing up in that specific value proposition so that people, when they see you, they attach that specific thing with that specific value proposition. So
a quote from a CA that I've chatted with, that is everything, is, and this is just strategically for anyone who's going to go and apply this incredible value that you've given, is you must be not in love with the solution, however, in a personal brand, but with the problem.
Yes.
So a lot of the problem sometimes is we'll create our businesses and our brands around a solution. You know, we create a horse business. We start to polish the hooves and we start to create the nicest saddle and enters Henry Ford with the motor vehicle. You fell in love with the horse.
Absolutely.
Not transportation. The problem we're solving.
Yes.
So if anyone's out there thinking about like, okay, what's my brand going to be about? Think about the problem. Guys, what is one piece of advice? If there was one thing you could go back to the start of your hustle that an aspiring, young, entrepreneurial, even side hustling youth has to hear? We'll start with you, Mo.
For me, sure.
One. No pressure.
Yeah. For me, something that I learned over the last year that really changed my perspective and my journey was having an abundance mindset. Was to not operate from a place of fear or scarcity, which I did in the beginning of my journey, because I was, kind of nervous and afraid that it was going to fail. I had everything riding on it. And that made me very small-minded when it came to opportunities and interacting with people. And, sometimes you get too money-focused about the cost. Whereas in the last year and a half or so, I've taken a much broader approach, an abundance mindset. Things are not necessarily worth the monetary cost, but it could be 10 or 20 times fold from the network, the opportunities, from putting people first. And so that has really been something that has changed a lot in my business, that I really advocate for everyone in their life. So not even if you're not an entrepreneur, if you, in articles, if you're a student, if you're just doing your own thing, try and have an abundance mindset. The world is so much bigger, and you deserve so much more, right? Than just this. You're worth so much more, and you should go get it. So that was just a work for me.
And Noma?
I would definitely say, I think we touched on it a bit earlier, failing forward.
Sure.
Not staying down for too long. Fail, get back up.
Sure.
Another one, okay, I know you said one.
We said one, but we'll give you this one.
Another one I would say is just being courageous. Being courageous. Being courageous. Don't walk in fear. So
sure.
I'll just leave it at that.
All right. Day one. Let me just say day one from articles.
Sure.
Before we get into entrepreneurship, I would say the power of relationships. Build relationships as much as you can, right? Because the people that you work with, in the next 5 or 10 years, there'll be CFOs of JSE-listed entities. There'll be CFOs of funding institutions, right? They'll be making decisions, especially if you're within a particular stream or particular industry, and you're still going to be in that fraternity. So those relationships, business, I always say most of the time we sell the same product. There's nothing different between we're selling an accounting service. I'll make an example, right? Sometimes how or what matters is the relationships that you have with the people. So the power to build and to nurture relationships, and again, going back to point and add value to people, all right? It becomes obvious because people radiate to people that they know they will add value into their lives, right? If you're going to add value in my processes, in my company, of course, I'll give you a shot, even though that I know there's a big company that is somewhere else, but I know that Alunga will add value if I give him the shot, right? So make sure you build those relationships. It takes time. It's not about converting and make money in like a year. 5 years, 10 years, 15 years down the line, Mo will want to raise the 100 million for his startup, right? So at the end of the day, his friends will be CFOs of these multinationals that are willing to fund. So it becomes easier if they know from way back. They understand what we've been offering.
They're just a text away.
Exactly. Right. Maybe let me push that question as well from your side. You are still in varsity, of course.
I'm
you're
still
doing but what advice would you share then with someone who is starting their first year, knowing very well that third year will come and kick you out, right? Knowing very well that your CTA will come and kick you out as well. Will kick you out. What advice would you offer?
I wouldn't advise starting anything in CTA.
Okay.
So actually, I've planned very well for CTA. So if you have a hustle, CTA is first priority. That's what I'll say first. Your hustle, your main hustle is school. That is always going to be your main hustle first, and that cannot suffer for the side hustle.
Okay.
But the side hustle can always thrive. And I believe that they are the best. Side hustles also don't necessarily have to make money, by the way. They can be an NPO. It's the things that, again, you're willing to be patient for. But I believe you should not aim to be the best, but you should aim to be the only. So you should look at, what are your values? Those are the types of questions that lead you to the type of work you want to do, the type of personality you have, the type of business you'd like to run and start and push. And when you start to understand your authentic self and you start to be your authentic self, you actually learn how to fill the gaps in spaces. When you try to be someone else, you try to supersede them. You try to replace the puzzle piece. When you try to be yourself, you're the missing piece. And so if you can look at your skills, your strengths, look at your values, look at your background, take stock of everything, your personality, your inclinations, your interests, your hobbies, your relationships. That way you're not the best, you're the only. So that would be definitely the thing to fall back on. And just in closing, I guess.
Before you close, I wanted
he has to quickly be host.
Yeah, I wanted us just to touch on this point, and you raised it earlier, Alunga. The rise of content creation, the rise of being an influencer, the rise of being Mohammed. We see he's thriving in business and all of that. Okay, and now the power of education around that. There are people that are thriving on social media, right? And they're like, I'm fine with that. My academics, I'm good. I made it, right? So from your experience, the value that education has added to be where you are at today, because I noticed that we're starting to lose that quite a lot with young people, chasing the brand, thinking that the brand is the one that will pay it off. But however, there's still a foundation that is needed from them. Your take, Mo?
That's a great question. I would say, firstly, education is important. Education is always important. I think, if I'm thinking about it, the soft skills you learn in pursuing, whether it's a degree, whatever your education is, as also part of articles, the soft skills, the discipline you need in order to study for a test, the time management, how you deal with failure, that is also part of the package deal that you get with pursuing any education, that, whether it's a degree or a course. And so that's, if someone wants to go off by themselves and start content creation, I think one thing you may be missing out on are some of those soft skills that you develop as part of the educational process. The second thing is, having had an education, you yourself are using the stuff you learned from your own experience and creating content about that. It's such an easy step in, I think, that once you have an education, to share that with others, to make it easier. There's universities and there's many other avenues for people to gain access to the content or similar content that you're creating, but you're putting your own spin on it and you directing it the way you want to based on your experience and what you learned. Same with you.
Noma?
I think I'll add on to what Mo said. He spoke about there are certain skills that you learn that sort of get packaged and help you in, I guess, even running or being able to be a content creator. So content creation is a business, I'll be honest with you. What I've noticed, for example, is I reach out, or I believe in shooting your shot. I call it shooting your shot. As in different ways to make money, shooting your shot with different businesses. So you acquire skills from audit, from doing training articles. You acquire these skills and you learn how to interact with companies, with a marketing team, and asking them, okay, this is what I'm offering, this is my value proposition, right?
You learn professionalism.
Exactly. And that's something I learned just from articles, interacting with clients, having to go and approach a CFO or a financial manager about issues that I'm having, about how we can go forth about solving those issues. So taking that taking that, what I learned from that, and putting that into content creation and I guess the business side of it, and making money from the business side of content creation. So I'd say maybe in that sense, it gives you an upper level in being a business person or approaching different brands. I would say that's what education or having a degree or a qualification does in that regard.
Fantastic. Over to you, Alunga. Then you can run with your show, man.
Thank you, sir. I got it back. Back. So even to answer that incredible question, I think, so I've interviewed countless CAs and aspiring CAs on the road to CA. And I think one thing about the CA that you wouldn't understand is how versatile it is. And I think as a young person, truly, I don't, like, if you have basic maths proficiency and English, and you don't know what you want to do, CA, it really does work. No matter where you want to go. I mean, Mohammed and I, we've spoken at length about our journeys, kind of meandering about. I love Mohammed's line. Do you want to share your line, the usual first one?
We both did third year 2.0.
So we know this thing of like really figuring out why you're here. But the commonality between us is CA. But we are such different people still. You'll find such different people to Mohammed. You'll find different people to those listed CEOs and CFOs. And there's just so many different types of people. And they're all CAs. Like, why is that the case? I think it's just because of how respected the brand is, of how so many of those faculties of critical thinking and those professional skills you naturally gain on the path, they just weave so nicely into any path. I would say, if you're not sure, or if you're like, this school thing, do a CA. For sure, do a CA. But just to summarize a lot of your incredible points, the first one is networks. Your network is your net worth. The cliche, and it's not about what you know, but who you know. But also in the spirit of content creation, I think there's a part that's missing. It's also about who knows you. And so you've got to go out there, build your brand. Make sure that you build up that courage, that you fail forward, see it as fixing your foundations, see it as the feedback that's going to eventually become the value of your product. And man, I think also, what was yours again?
So many.
Values-based approach, bar. Just go with
rewind. That's probably the most important thing. Values first. You first. And don't be the best, be the only. Guys, please don't stop your hustle. Maybe you have to just pivot. You just have to pivot. Maybe you have to push. But know that there is a designation that I think will enable you, no matter where you are. So that was the SAICABiz Impact Podcast X, the Blue Table Talk.